Right, we've got to keep moving along. Next up we have Charlotte Lockhart, who has returned to our shores. 2 weeks ago, Charlotte announced from the UK that 4-Day Week Global is a founding partner at World Wellbeing Movement. In 2020, I asked Charlotte, could you come and speak at a workplace wellness event for me? It's taken us 2 years to get that event in person. So thank you, Charlotte, for coming. The World Wellbeing Movement is a coalition of global leaders from business, civil society and academia that have come together to help put wellbeing at the heart of decision making in both business and public policy. I love how Charlotte and Andrew Barnes, that's Charlotte's lovely life partner, champion the 4-day week, and their focus is 100% output and 80% of the time. Please welcome Charlotte to the stage.
You hear? Oh yes, you can hear me. My house in the UK has these a hallway with a dome type things, and when you stand under the dome, you get this sort of sense of a bit of a feedback thing. It's kind of how I'm feeling now. So I'm the crazy person in the room. I'm the one that thinks that you can make your business better by sending your people home, and it's been an interesting journey. In fact, the intervening 2 years that we've had since Catherine and I tried to have me speak have really changed the world, as we all know. This feels like it's sipping in and out, is that? So prior to the pandemic, we were definitely the crazy people in the room, and we were working with businesses like Unilever, who are one of our partners at the World Wellbeing Movement, and PwC, and lots of small and medium-sized business owners like yourselves. And, you know, they were interested, and the academics were quite interested, and we met with a few trade union types and a few government types, and that was all trucking along, and Andrew and I managed the whole thing ourselves without too much effort. And then the world changed, and we ended up, should help with the audio issue. Okay. Doesn't feel, okay, we'll give it a go. And what has changed out there, outside of New Zealand, is the employment market is fallen off the cliff. And it's bad here, but it's even worse out there. And the reason why, largely, is because your people, the staff that work for companies, have said, you know what, I want to work differently. For the pandemic, the companies that we had that would join a 4-day or a 32-hour work week basically just did it because they felt it was the right thing to do. Business owner themselves was quite keen on the idea of not having to work as hard, and thinks, you know, I'll take the staff on this journey with me. Post-pandemic, the staff have said, I'm going to work the way I want to work. And we have what has been phrased, and you'll have heard it all, the Great Resignation. And of course, we've all got them boomeranging back now, which is also interesting. What the Great Resignation tells us is that we can no longer run our businesses and dictate to our staff the terms. But why would you? Right? So what we work with businesses, and we've got thousands of companies doing reduced hour work weeks now around the world, is actually how do you partner with your business, in your business, with your people, to find a way that your business will be more productive. And when Andrew Barnes first put the 4-day week into Perpetual Guardian with 250 staff across 16 branches around New Zealand, it's okay, I'll just stand there. That was what he was interested in. He'd read some research that said that productivity was less than 3 hours a day, and he was academically interested as to why that was, what was getting in the way. Was it that people had things in their lives that they needed to do that meant then they were getting done at work? And how do you unlock that? Now, of course, we'll just go into our businesses and say to our people, hey guys, I want you to be more productive, and I've got these time and motion consultants or McKinsey or something. They're all going to come and tell us how to be more productive. All your people here is, I want you to do more with less, and redundancies are on the way. And so when you actually say to your people, hey guys, here's a crazy idea. How about we try and find how to make the business more productive, because if we can do things better, you can go home. And that's the real carrot that gets them to find and unlock all of those things in your business that even they don't know exist. Parkinson's law, for those who know what it is, says that a job will basically take the time that is available. So you have a 5-day work week. People will be using the 5 days to get their job done. They will fill that with busyness. And we all know the stories around people, Stanberg, putting a jacket on the back of her desk, her chair, and shoes so she can leave. And people think she's working. But no one knew that she was leaving early to be with her children because her job was being done. So it's all there. So what we suggest is that you partner with your people and you find these ways to unlock it. And why should you do that? A, you want a better business, don't you, right? Who doesn't? But B, it's the right thing to do. It's better for your people, but it creates the best working environment. Every company that we coach through this says to me, God, this is the best thing I've ever done in business. So much easier than I thought it was going to be, and I love coming to work now. The middle management who are never happy, right? They love going to work when their staff are happy, and they find it less confronting because they've got less issues to deal with. Because here's a lovely little thing that happens in your business when you get your people to focus in on productivity. They become very clear about why they're there. They become very clear about what their job is. And they stop behaving like children. Mummy, Daddy, I've got this problem. Or Mummy and Daddy, I've done this good thing. Could you pat me? That we're all human, and human behaviour tends to be very much like that. And there's a few smiles on this, I reckon. You all know what I'm meaning. We had a team at the BBC do a 4-day week. And they were a creative team, and the reason why they wanted to do the 4-day week was that they found that they were all working, they were all working too much, and their creativity had gone. They were just being very linear in job roles. The woman who ran the team she said her work day finished when everybody else went home, because she had an open desk policy that people could always come and complain to her if they had a problem. She found the biggest change for her was that her staff did their jobs and didn't come to her for validation all of the time. They came to her when that was important, but they valued their own time, and suddenly they started valuing hers. So she went into it thinking she was never going to be able to do it. This was a benefit I was giving my people, and she was the one that got the most out of it, and she was blown away by that. And what she found was that not only was she not doing her work on her 2-hour train ride every day, and doing it when she got home additionally, but she was getting everything done before she left the office. And it fundamentally changed her life. So there's that. There's the whole have a great business and it's nice for your people. There's gender balance. So when we first did the 4-day week and we were just looking at productivity, and then suddenly I'm like, oh, this is actually quite for gender balance. Because what we're doing is we're encouraging the men in our business to go home too. Because we've done so much in the developed world to pull women up in the workforce and to smash that glass ceiling, and you know, we've empowered women like you wouldn't believe, and you know, a lot of that is also thanks to you blokes, right? I'm always impressed with the support that women get in their careers from their male peers. But we're not giving you guys the same ability to step out in the same way. And so it's a balance that is shifting. But when everyone is on a reduced hour work week, then the men in the business are doing it just as much. So we have a perpetual guardian, one father who comes in 5 days a week at 10 o'clock in the morning, having walked his daughter to school. Every day. Walks his daughter to school. This is how his family life is. His wife gets up, she sorts herself out, and she goes off to work. Happy, doesn't have to do anything. He sorts out the daughter and everything. He says if she wants to play for a couple more minutes, she can. And then he has this time with her. He walks her to school, walks home, hops on a bus, turns up 10 o'clock. And he starts work the minute he arrives, because work is a moving train. So he just picks up his coat, so to speak, and then gets on with his job. He is so motivated to keep his productivity up because he is getting the one thing that he wants in life. We have another father who came to work for Perpetual Guardian about a month before we started this, and he came because his previous employer, he'd been working really ridiculous hours, 70-hour weeks, and they'd had this baby, and he decided that he wanted to work a much more 9-to-5 job role. So he came to work for us. And a month, 2 weeks into him coming to work for us, we gave him a whole day off. And he's like, result, his wife was working a 4-day week, but being paid 80%. 80% salary, 80% sick leave, 80% annual leave, 80% superannuation, 80% benefits. He was on a full-time salary, full benefits, and he had a day off, which meant that he could do care for their daughter 1 day a week. His wife was doing care for the daughter 1 day a week. The daughter was only in care for 3 days a week. And he's just beside himself to be given this opportunity that he just never anticipated would be part of his life. So gender balance, I think, is a really important thing for me. And when we first started doing this, I had a lot of friends going, oh, yeah, no, I'm doing a 4-day week. Yeah, I know, I negotiated that. Are you getting 100% pay? Oh, no, but I've negotiated that. I'm like, well, shame on you. Because actually we all know that what happens when women choose a 4-day week or a 3-day week, they do a 100% job. We know this. So I encourage women that have the ability to negotiate that, to actually say, what's the 80% role? Explain to me what the 80% role is. Now, what's the 100% role? And if I deliver you the 100% role, will you pay me 100%? Now, if an employer says no, then you're clearly talking to the wrong employer. But we need to be negotiating, we need to be discussing how we get value for ourselves. And we need to be having those conversations with our staff as well, because we need to make sure we're not using them and that they benefit from growing your business in the same way as you do. So that's, I think, a really important thing. And if you're not doing that in your roles or for your staff, then how is the person who sweeps the streets or cleans the offices at night or does do all of that, who really don't have a lot of power? They have unions, but they don't have a lot of power. How are they ever going to get it if we who have those skills don't ask for it? So I think that's a really important thing. The other thing that's great about reducing work time, of course, is the environmental benefit. We've all seen those fabulous photos of the Himalaya from Kathmandu. This is about spending less time and energy to complete what we need to do, whether that actually be in your job or whether that's just commuting to your job. So there's so many reasons why this is really good. And the question just becomes, what do people do with the time? This is the exciting thing. What people do with that time off, they educate themselves. I mean, you think about it, all the young ones these days, you know, they don't want to work as hard as we've worked, but they've all been brought up in care. They've all seen us burn out. They don't want the life that we have. They want to work differently. But they also leave school going, well, you know, what we're teaching now won't be relevant for any job you're going to do in 5 years' time. You know, woe betide you, molly-whoppy. And so they come out knowing they're going to have to continually educate themselves. And so when are they going to do that? When are we going to give them that time? So one of the great stories I heard recently was from a young person who was doing their master's in law, and they took Wednesdays off, and they treated Wednesday as a full work day for their study, and they to their lecture, and they did as much of their work that they could do there. So they were benefiting themselves, they were benefiting their employer. But the thing that he said was the most interesting thing. He says, I've got my weekends back. Because previously, I don't know how many in this room have tried to study and work at the same time. It ruins your weekends, right? Because you know you've got to do some work, stuff after work, and then you've got to, get that done on Saturday, and then I've got these other things, and I don't know, social life that I want to do as well, and then I'll do some more stuff. And Sunday afternoon, you're finishing things off, and your weekends, and then it's Monday. So there's educating ourselves. There's keeping ourselves fit, healthy, cooking, doing all those things. The obesity epidemic that we have is largely due to our lack of time to eat properly. My dream in life would be that the world shifts to reduce our working and Uber Eats goes out of business. There's no reason why we are buying food in that way other than we just don't have the time and energy to do anything else. I don't know about most of you, but I mean, I grew up when I grew up, we barely ate out. We barely had takeaways. Now it's kind of, when they had the government gave that inflation subsidy, and one of the comments from one of the 20-year-olds was, well, that's barely one. I'm just not sure why that's even something in our lives. But so what else do people do with the time? They go and help others. They engage with communities. They engage with charities. They engage with sport. They go and do the sausage sizzle at football. They do civic duties. They have time to be on councils, and they have time to do things that we all need as part of the things that make our society function. Charities struggle enormously for people and funding. And it's because they haven't got enough people that the funding is always a challenge. Look at something like Rotary. Rotary cured polio around the world. But your local Rotary will welcome you with open arms if you just decide that you have the time to go once a week and be part of your community. So there's all sorts of reasons why, as a civil society, we actually need to focus in on working less, but it doesn't have to have an economic downside. And we don't want it to have an economic downside. Well, business owners, the last thing you want to do is be giving away profits, right? But also, the society still needs you to be making money, paying tax, doing your bit as well. So economically, we don't want anything to go.
So probably the easiest thing now, because what I find is that I can talk about this probably for about 3 hours. I'm a little bit passionate about it. We have a huge amount of work that we're doing with the likes of the World Wellbeing Movement with our fellow partners, and we've got McKinsey on there, we've got Indeed, we've got Unilever, we've got just all these really quite incredible organisations that know that the way that we're going to work moving forward must include the well-being of your people. And it has to be culturally appropriate as well. So you have to engage with your people around that. The hilarious thing that the global CEO of HR person of Unilever said to me, she sent out this is prior to the pandemic, sent out a survey saying, hey guys, I'm kind of keen to offer a lot more remote working, work from home, if that's what you're keen on. And, you know, obviously quite a few people said that's a great idea. The women in Bangladesh said, no, that's where my mother-in-law is. I come to work to have a life. So, changing your workplace, I think it's really important that you are properly talking to your people around what that will look like. And that's what you're all struggling with now, isn't it? So I'm going to open the floor and actually get people to ask questions, and then that way we can let the conversation go in the direction where you have questions. Who's going to be first? Oh, there we go. Yep. Okay, so the question is, how do you deal with part-time and casual staff? So we have a principle. Exactly. So we have a principle called the 100-80-100 rule. We're going to pay you 100% for 80% time as long as there's 100% productivity. So that's how you deal with people who are working too much and people who are working part-time or casually. So it's about what is our productivity and how we're going to define that and how we can ensure that we keep your pay the same. This is not about a reduction in pay. And last thing we need to be doing is doing that. That's going to be so bad for our economy and so bad for our people. But why would you if they're still producing for you the same amount, if not more? Most businesses, when they go into this, find that their productivity actually goes up more than the loss of time. And that's because people are clear about why they're there. We're also not necessarily talking about a true 4-day week. It's kind of on the can because the marketing people in the room will go, it's just easier to explain. But actually, we're really talking about reduced hours working. And some businesses they just close their doors on a Monday or a Friday or whatever, and that's what suits them and their people. But for a lot of businesses, that's just completely impractical. And certainly what we found at Perpetual Guardian, when we did the trial, we were a 4-day business, but people took different days because we needed to stay open 5 days a week. But what we are now is a reduced hour, flexible and remote workplace. And so we did a fully engaged process with our people and said, like, what is the return to work going to look like? How are we going to accommodate those of you who want to still work from home, those of you who want to come into the office, keep you safe as well? Because we're planning for post-pandemic. We're not, when we're not necessarily all, well, we may always still be afraid, but theoretically we won't. So what is the strong business model that we're doing otherwise? So yes, the 100-80-100 rule is what gets you through most things. Yes.
Have you had any cases with solo independents or solo proprietors?
Well, most solo proprietors I know just work the hours they want to work anyway, and you're really, really good at working too many hours. And I guess the key thing with that, and we do have solo people join the pilots, because what they're looking to do is just be clear about how they reduce their time and be disciplined with themselves. One of the reasons why we started the group pilot program is that I rang in a number of the CEOs during the pandemic and said, look, how's it going? They go, well, it's good, but it's kind of a lonely place. I can ring you and I can ring such and so because he said he's doing a 4-day week, but I'm, if I've got ideas I want to share, I've got no one really to share them with. So we run the pilot programs as a group now so that there are mentors within the group, but people can share ideas with each other, and this is where solo, business owners get quite a lot of benefit, because they can talk about their strategies with others, and also, talk about how I'm going to grow my business. We get, a lot of people go, but that won't work because I'm a startup. We have startups doing it, right? Won't work because I'm in digital marketing. Digital marketing is one of the biggest industries that's in it. Won't work because I'm in law, because, billable hour. And I'm like, that's all good, so let me work out how you charge me. You measure your staff in 6-minute blocks, and at the end of the month, the invoice sits in front of you, and you charge me what you think I will pay. You don't add up the 6-minute blocks and go, that's the amount I'm charging, just that. You charge what you think I value. So you're all really doing value-based invoicing. Some organisations and some people do have contracts where you are being contracted for an amount of time, and you will need to renegotiate contracts like that, because the reality is, why time? Time isn't what you do. If you are hiring an engineer to design something for you or do something for you, and one engineer takes 2 hours to do it, and one engineer takes 1 hour to do it, but I'm going to choose the guy that I pay twice as much to do the same job. So sometimes for those of you who are in those sort of industries, it's going to be about valuing your skill set and saying, I am worth being paid this. Time is not the thing. All right?
The second part of the question is, what are your thoughts on when you start flexible working hours?
Well, it can be flexible. There's no reason. So what we're talking about is reducing work time. You can do that. I mean, the Perpetual Guardian people are fully flexible. So, the chap walking his daughter to school, other people, there's a grandfather who picks his daughter up from kindergarten twice a week and has 2 afternoons off with her. There's no reason why. What we're looking at are what are the benefits of working less. I've got 30 seconds. We have just about every single industry around the globe, someone is doing it. Manufacturing doing it, medical doing it, law doing it, digital marketing doing it.
How do you manage when, I know you're saying you're very flexible, but like if you've got conflict of hours that staff want to work and don't want to work, days that they don't, days that they don't, I understand.
Everybody has to be reasonable. So there's a reasonable test to this, right? So everybody brings to the table what they would like to do, and you work together on what is a reasonable solution. There's 3 things that need to be taken into consideration: what the business needs, what your clients need, and what your people need. And so you've got to start all acting like the grown-ups in the room and actually negotiate something that works for all things. There's no point if it doesn't work for the business or the clients. And so, your staff are fully contracted to be there. So one of the pieces of advice I will leave you with is that you can overthink this all you like, but until you actually just run a pilot and ask your people how we're going to make this work, your role as a leader is to go, you know what, I like the idea of this. And if you watch the video where Andrew goes, so I got this crazy idea. He goes, I have no idea how we're going to make it work. I just need you guys to work it out. And that's the thing. If you let your people work this out for you, they will make it happen. And you just need to be an enabler as far as that's concerned. It's uncomfortable because as business leaders, we're used to making decisions and solving problems. And I will leave you with this one line. As business leaders, we need to remember that we borrow our people from their lives.